Hello and welcome to ChooseFI. Today on the show, we have our good friends Katie and Alan Donegan, and we're just going to do a fly-on-the-wall conversation amongst friends. We're going to let you in on this conversation that we'd be having anyway. The three of us are great friends. We've traveled the world together, and we have these fun, far-ranging conversations, and we usually talk about life and FI and everything in between. What we're up to, how we changed our minds, what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're playing. I don't know, maybe commiserating on some things that have come up in the world that we're not so thrilled with, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's about just thinking and talking and looking at the world and trying to have fun and explore. And I think that's what Alan and Katie do best. And yeah, we talk about travel, which they've been doing as digital nomads for 5.5 years now. We talk about zero-based thinking, which is an interesting concept they've come up with that I love. A little bit about Robinhood and Tesla and selling shares and how difficult or not difficult that may be. A little bit about dividend investing, and then just a lot of fun of what we're up to in our own lives. I think you're really going to enjoy this. And with that, welcome to ChooseFI. Katie and Alan Donegan, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello.
We are back.
We are back. Yeah. So this is going to be fun. We envision this episode. Basically, we talk all the time. We're great friends. We spent a whole bunch of time in Asia together last year. We spent a good portion of time in April in London celebrating you and your incredible British Empire medal, which was the coolest thing ever. I'm still unbelievably blown away and honored that you invited me to go to the Tower of London for the ceremony. It was like literally the phrase once in a lifetime experience is almost always a complete fabrication. Like they're very rarely. And that was truly once in a lifetime. So congratulations again to both of you.
Thank you. We were so honoured to have you there, and I couldn't have thought of anyone else we'd rather have there. And you were just so happy, soaking up the atmosphere and enjoying it. And I think that added to our happiness to see your curiosity and what was going on. And then we went to the coats of arms place with the crazy Chester Herald of Arms, and that was the most British experience I think I've ever had in my life. And I'm from there.
Yeah, that was really something. Yeah, it was at the College of Arms, right? Was the place, and I just couldn't believe this guy was bombing through these books that were 500 years old. Like, oh, here's William Shakespeare's dad's crest and coat of arms, and here's the little spear on it, and it was absolutely wild.
He didn't even have white gloves on or anything, or tweezers to turn the pages. He was just ruffling through them. He almost licked his finger to get the friction to turn the page, didn't he? I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So again, a huge congrats to you guys. That was for, I believe, something on the order of financial services to His Majesty's subjects, and just basically providing just this incredible resource that is Rebel Finance School. And you've helped tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of people, and certainly probably in the hundreds of thousands all told, but I know tens of thousands each year. And it's just a remarkable thing. So thank you both.
It's our pleasure. It's like our gift to the world, and we feel very proud of just giving it away each year.
I love it. So why we're doing this episode today, for everybody listening, Alan, Katie, and I talk all the time. We hang out all the time. We have really interesting, random, far-flung conversations. And we just decided, hey, let's do an episode where it's just a fly on the wall. And we have a Google Doc where we have 16 to 20 different items. Who knows how many we'll get to today? I suspect we'll get bogged down in the very best way possible on some of these things and just talk and talk and talk. But why don't we start with something that you guys presented on at the Economy Conference? So in March in Cincinnati, you did a presentation basically on your travels and all the things you've learned. And of course, we're not going to do a 2-hour presentation here, but you also introduced a concept to me that I'd never heard of, which is zero-based thinking, which is basically like looking at the sunk cost fallacy and trying to eliminate it as much as possible. So we've got a lot in there, but let's just start with, you two have been, I don't know if you like the phrase digital nomads, but in the old days, people thought of as digital nomads for 5+ years now. What is that like? Is this the FI life that you envisioned? How has it lived up to it? How has it not been as great? Like, where have you moved? Where have you changed? All these things. And again, that's a lot to ask, 7 different questions all at once. But let's start there.
So to answer your question, what do we think of the term digital nomad? We prefer to use the term homeless and unemployed.
Nice.
And we've been doing that since the beginning of 2020. which was not the best time in hindsight to start traveling the world extensively. But we've been nomadic for 5.5 years now.
And what's it been like? It's been a roller coaster, ups and downs, traveling to different places, seeing new places, meeting incredible people, sunsets on the beach, and then being hungry and lost and wondering, how do I order food in this foreign language? And I don't know how to cope with life.
I think Brad can relate to that, right? Like, what happened to you in Singapore, Brad?
Oh goodness, yeah. This this was bad, and it happened to all three of us. Let's be clear,
Yes,
but to me more than the rest of you too. But I think this is actually a really good lesson on just like the basic needs of humanity sometimes, right? Which is, hey, we had just traveled. We'd spent this like exhilarating week in Bali at the Five Freedom Retreat. We flew to Singapore. We spent an amazing day, at Universal Studios in Singapore, but it was 90 degrees, but it was really sunny. We were hot. We were dehydrated. We were hungry. We were tired. All of these things. And we tried to just go about business, right? And you don't realize like, oh, wow, sometimes when I'm in a bad mood or sometimes when it seems like the world is crashing down around me, which was my ridiculous quote to the two
That's
of you.
what you actually said, isn't it,
I feel like the world is crashing down around me. And it does feel like that at the time.
It does. And then you get a big old plate of rice and chicken and pork and all sorts of other assorted Singaporean food. And voila, we felt a whole heck of a lot better. We each had probably 30 ounces of cold water and this big heaping plate of food. And all of a sudden, the world wasn't crashing down around us anymore. And that's, it is really, really interesting. Like we think about like our brains as these kind of like, okay, our brain's just going along, doing its thing. But then you realize like, oh, I didn't get a good night's sleep last night. Maybe that's why I'm a little more anxious today. Or maybe I'm having those ruminative thoughts, right? Or like, oh, maybe I just spent 4 hours out in the 90-degree sun and I'm just dehydrated and the world isn't crashing down around me. I just need some water.
Yeah, it's hard to forget to cover those basic needs sometimes, isn't it? Because we all get so caught up in what we're doing, whether that's having fun, doing some work, whatever it is. Like when I get into a spreadsheet and some data and some graphs, 4, 5, 6 hours go by and then I wonder why I can't see straight and start having a headache.
Well, I think as humans, we vastly underestimate the effect this stuff has on us. We think we can still operate when we're tired. We think we can still operate when we're hungry. And we don't operate very well at all. And it's really interesting we've got 22,000 people on the Rebel Finance School this year alone doing the course with us live. And people who are struggling, it's amazing how we end up getting emails at 4 a.m. and you start to find out, oh, they're not sleeping well as well. The people who email us and are really in a pickle, it's sleep and it's food and they can't, no wonder you can't make a decision. When we were melting down in Singapore and not able to cope, we couldn't even make a decision of which food to buy.
There's that added layer as well that you're in a foreign country, you don't quite understand how it works to order, you don't quite understand who even to ask, and you feel awkward because you can't communicate and it all becomes too much, doesn't it? And we've had that happen many times.
Which sounds a lot like trying to organise your investments, which feels like reading an entire different language. So if you're not well-fed, well-watered and well-rested, organising your investments is going to seem like the world is crashing down.
Oh, I like what you did there, Alan. I like what you did. But the good thing, right, about your investments is, like for a lot of us who follow the simple path to wealth, is I don't have to organize my investments. That's what's so great about it, right? Like for me, the vast majority of my money is invested in VTI and I sleep very comfortably with that. And I do, in fairness, I do have a bit more money in Berkshire Hathaway, the individual stock, Warren Buffett's company, than I actually even realized, which is kind of weird. But I guess that maybe speaks to organizing your assets. But yeah, the vast, vast, vast majority of my wealth is in VTI, which just makes it simple.
Yeah, we were speaking to a value stock picker the other day. The people who say, I buy stocks that are value and I can't buy VTI because it's overvalued at the moment and all the rest of it. And the stock they had picked, to be fair, was Berkshire Hathaway. So they'd invested all their money in that one stock. And it made me think, well, if I was forced, like if you put a gun to my head and said, Alan, you have to pick a stock,
Yeah.
it would be that one, because basically by buying that one stock, you're buying hundreds and hundreds of profitable companies underneath it, because that's what they own. So it's kind of like a mini index fund in one stock, but chosen by Buffett. But it is quite interesting. But just to be super transparent about what we do, we have pretty much all of our money in one simple global index fund.
Gotcha. And so I know investing is different. So you guys are UK citizens. Are you able to do that through Vanguard or another type of brokerage that we would recognize?
We have Vanguard in the UK, and you can now get our versions of a 401k and a Roth and an IRA through Vanguard. So you can go direct to them. You can pick a Vanguard fund. They have actually like the UK version of VTI, which is actually VTI, like actually is UK version has all the American stocks in it. Or you can have the total world version where you're not picking countries. So for us, it felt a bit weird to invest all of our money in America, considering we're not American. So we just picked the global one, which splits your money equally in the size they are in the economy across the 50 plus investable countries you can buy.
Gotcha. Okay. So you guys are homeless and unemployed / digital nomads and have been that way for 5.5 years now. So what does travel look like today? Because I think there are obviously a lot of different travel styles, right? Like you could do the more fast-paced travel where you're staying somewhere for days or maybe a week or two, consistently moving, or you could do slower travel where it's maybe a couple months at minimum in a spot, maybe have recurring spots that you go back to each year. How do you think through like balancing new places with some continuity, with some community, with all of these things that are important but aren't altogether obvious what the right answer is?
Yeah, there is no right answer, because I feel like we keep getting it wrong, or we kind of veer too far the one way, which makes us swing back the other way. So too much fast travel, which then flings us the other way and be like, we just crave stability if we move around too much.
And the word travel, I don't like the travel element of travel. I like the being in the place element of travel. Apart from, we did actually fly business class for the first time the other day, and that was amazing.
I didn't want to get off the plane. I was like,
can we have one of these chairs for home?
Can I just stay here? It was
yes,
amazing.
Please.
But in general, we just like to be. So at the moment, we've got 3 months solid staying on the beach in Brazil. That's it. One location, one place. And I think to start with, we were very excited about moving and exploring. And as the years have gone on, you then start to get to a point of, okay, I've explored a lot of countries now. I've been to a lot of places. Where do I actually want to spend my time?
And every time you move, it's a risk, right? Especially if you're going to a new place and you're committing to being there for a few months. It's like, well, what if you don't like it? What if it isn't quite what you wanted? It doesn't line up with your values or how you wanted to spend your time whilst you're there. And actually, we're both moving towards thinking about being way more settled, whether that means living somewhere permanently or much longer stays than what we have been doing. So I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months at a time.
Okay. We had the risk of Brazil. We arrived in Brazil. We'd booked an Airbnb, and the Airbnb we arrived, it was dirty, and I spent a few hours cleaning, which, you know, like, fine, I'm a grown adult, I can clean. I'm actually quite good at it.
You do get it because you tend to go down to your underpants and get the vacuum cleaner out.
That's an image no one needs.
I enjoy that image.
So we cleaned the place, but then we went out and bought vegetables to cook, came back, I pulled out the pans, and there was no non-stick left. They were mouldy, they were rotten, and there was a dead cockroach in the pans. And like, and then there was loud music all day, and you can heap all the problems on there.
Sure.
But that place was just not for us. And then we spent the next 2 weeks going, how do we get out of our Airbnb contract? How do we move? Where do we go? What do we do? And that's the actual cost of the travel sometimes. And then you look for reliability, and you look for, can I consistently go to a nice place with a comfortable bed, a good shower, good food, and I can look after my health. And you start to look for where can I comfortably get those things around the world?
And we've started to notice as well where we feel more like we fit in different places, right? Because the culture will be different in different places around the world, different regions, different countries, different cities. And it's thinking, where does the culture align with how we want to be as well, and the people and all that kind of thing as well?
Okay. Yeah, it's there's so many factors. It's interesting. And yeah, obviously we're highlighting some of the negative parts of travel, and that's just the reality sometimes, right? Sometimes even best laid plans, you get a bad Airbnb, even though you did your diligence and you looked at the reviews and you looked at the pictures and it just wasn't the case. Well, I mean, the nice thing is, A, there are people to help you often, and B, you can just move because you have assets and you're not stuck there. It's not, again, it's sunk cost fallacy, right? Like a lot of people would say, like, oh, but I've already spent this money. I'm here. I can't move. Well, okay. Yeah, you've spent the money no matter what at that point. Like, do you just stay and be miserable and live in a place that is loud and dirty and you don't want to stay in? Or at that point, do you make a decision to move regardless of whether you get the refund or whatever? I think that's the nice part about having flexibility and assets.
Which we literally used the zero-based thinking question in that exact instance, which the question is, knowing what I know now, would I rebook this Airbnb? And the answer is immediately no.
And there was a 4-letter word before the no, wasn't there?
I may have gone. And you say no, and then you go, well, okay, based on that answer, your job is to get out as quickly as possible. And you can actually apply that question to every area of your life. So the people listening to this right now, if you ask, knowing what I know now, would I rebuy the same car that I'm driving? And if the answer is no, your job is to swap it and get a car you actually want to drive. And you can even do it with the house you live in or the city you live in. Knowing what I know now, would I move to the same town? Would I live in the same house? And if the answer is no, your job is as quickly as possible to get out and find somewhere else, because you are somewhere that you don't want to be, and you're doing it because of sunk cost fallacy and because of all those other reasons. But that's not helping you live your best life.
Can you apply it to the people around you as well?
Knowing what I know now, would I still go out with Alan? You can, but it's a dangerous question.
That is a bit of a dangerous question. But yeah, you really can apply it to your job, to anything. And I think so many people get bogged down in feeling stuck because, yeah, for a host of reasons, but sunk cost fallacy is one of the biggest ones. Like, oh, I've put so many years into whatever, to this relationship, to this friend, to this job, to this whatever. I couldn't possibly move. And it like, the reality is, and I say this probably every episode, guys, we get 80 or 90 years on this planet if we're really, really, really lucky. And the whole point of FI, as I see it, is to move as many of those years into your side of the ledger, if you will, of like being able to do what you want with your time. To me, that is the goal of FI at its essence. It's how can I control my time? How can I control what I do with the only resource that I can't get back? And I feel like so many people get bogged down in wasting years in all these aspects, one more year syndrome in their job, or staying in a relationship that's not serving them, or again, being friends with people that, hey, I was friends with 20 years ago and it was great then, but it's not serving me now, right? Like all of these things, that zero-based thinking can be applied everywhere, and it should be applied everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like we should tell everyone, pause now and think through job, friends, car, house, breakfast. Knowing what you now know.
You didn't include partner.
Breakfast is way more important. Come on.
Knowing what you now know, would you choose it again? If the answer is no, your job is to get out as quickly as possible, because exactly as Brad said, don't waste the years of your life on something that's not working. Get out and change.
And that this is not an opportunity to beat yourself up for a previous decision. You made that decision with the best of knowledge. This is not to say like, yeah, to tell yourself off for that. It's just to say, okay, now, which will be different from who me was 3, 4, 5 years ago, this isn't right for me anymore, and happily move on and do something else.
As quickly as possible.
I love that. And that's the thing, right? We get new information. Here in the US, years ago, there was this, people would get tagged politically as like, oh, they're a flip-flopper. And it like, what it actually meant was they just changed their mind because new information came in. right? And it's obviously there are those people who just change their mind with the wind and whoever's there, right? I'm not talking about those kind of people, but like if you get new information and you're not changing your mind, that's a way bigger issue than sticking dogmatically to something. That's like insanity of the highest order. So, I mean, I think you guys have probably seen that over and over again on your travels also, right? Like I suspect strongly, now granted, 2020 was a weird year, but I suspect strongly your travels in 2022 look dramatically different than your travels coming up in 2026, just because you've learned new information. You've learned how long you want to stay places, how much you like traveling, micro things like how important walkability is, how close you need to be for something to actually be close, and what it looks like to have things in your neighborhood. Like I imagine even your not even, but your searches for places have changed dramatically in those couple of years.
Yeah, big time. I mean, you talk about walkability. We went to Johannesburg, loved Johannesburg, but it's not safe to walk at night. And then Katie and I love to walk. I love to walk after eating food. It helps me digest. It helps me think. I sleep better. And then we are literally pacing around the car park compound of our building.
The parking lot.
The parking lot, because you can't leave. And then I'm like, I'm doing circuits in a car park, and this is my life. I don't want to do that. So now in the current place we are, we can walk along the beach at night. You can hear the waves crashing. It is beautiful. And we have long walks, long chats, talking about all the subjects. And it's a different way of life. And you do learn those things. You also wouldn't know that unless you went there and tested it and tried it and spoke to the locals. You just don't know until you get there. So you make the best decisions you can, have a go, and then change.
Right. And that harkens back to old poker thinking. Like Annie Duke, who wrote the book Thinking in Bets, is you make a decision with the best information you have at the time. Sometimes that decision turns out well, sometimes it turns out poorly, but you can't look at the result and then look backwards and say, oh, it was a good result, so therefore it was a good decision, or it was a bad result, and therefore it was a bad decision. That's not the way it works. You make a decision with the information available at hand at that time. And what you try to do in life is get better at thinking. That's actually what we're doing here. It's not just looking at haphazardly making decisions and hope you get lucky. It's honing in on what's important. And just one other thing about like not knowing is Bali was the perfect example. We spent a couple of weeks in Bali, and Bali, the 5 Freedom Retreat was absolutely wonderful. Let's be clear. It was truly wonderful. Amy did an amazing job. Bali was a little more crowded, or a lot more crowded than any of us anticipated. And I think a lot of us were taken aback and surprised by that when they have an amazing, Bali must have the best PR department in the entire world, because like it's just as a country, because we all think of it as this idyllic paradise. And yet it's really overrun by most mopeds and motorcycles, and it's very busy, and it's very hard to walk on the streets. It's almost impossible, in fact. And again, Bali's great, and clearly the 5 Freedom Retreat was great, but that's not a place that I could ever live, because it just was too crowded. I couldn't walk where I wanted to go. That was a surprise to me, because I expected idyllic, serene paradise, and it was not that.
Yeah. Before you get a bunch of emails in, you called Bali a country, which you know that is.
Oh, I said country? Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, okay. Bali is part of Indonesia. It's one of the many islands of Indonesia. I know that for sure. But thank you, Katie.
And talking about you saying about getting better at thinking, and you can't look at the outcome to know whether the thinking was sound. We often, when things don't turn out the way we wanted to, we'll ask each other the question, well, what have we learned from this, and what will we do differently next time? And sometimes the answer is nothing.
I don't know.
Or like there wouldn't be any different way of doing it. It was just the luck of the draw that time, and it didn't work out for us.
Like the Copacabana Airbnb. Like I did my due diligence, I did my research, it was a good price. Like I don't know what I would do differently. I genuinely don't know how to avoid that as a problem.
And that's okay, right? Like that's the cool thing is like there's a probabilistic nature of life. And that again goes back to poker. Like I was not a wonderful or even semi-professional or anything like that poker player, but I was an avid poker player. And like you learn about the probabilistic nature of life, right? And it's just sometimes you go in with 2 aces against deuce 7, and I forget my exact probabilities. It was probably like a 95% plus chance at that point you're going to win. but 1 out of 20 you lose. That's just the way it works. That's how 95% works. 1 out of 20 you lose. And if you cry about it, that you made a bad decision, or next time in that exact scenario, now I'm not talking about a different scenario, in that exact scenario, if you don't go in with 2 aces because you lost that one time, well, you're an idiot. You're giving up 19 out of 20 wins, right?
It's true. It's true. You have to go all in.
I love how excited Brad gets when it comes to maths, and that like the strength of that reaction then, Brad, when you were like, you're an idiot if you don't do maths. I love that about Brad. He's so calm when it comes to like
maths.
Basic maths.
Yep. Thank you, Katie. I know we share a love of maths. So oh goodness.
So another thing we wanted to share with you and all the people listening is a new innovation or a new way of thinking we had this year. And basically it came from me going, oh, we could visualize the average split of people's net worth in different categories.
Okay.
And then Katie went away and looked at all the data and found like how much of people's net worth is sat in their home, how much of people's net worth is sat in their freedom account, how much is sat in cash or cash-like things, and where actually is the average person's net worth.
Yeah, which led us to think about a different way of thinking of net worth of those different categories. So assets, like we're familiar with, and we thought, rather than call them assets, why not call that your freedom fund? Okay. It makes it like a little bit sexier, a little bit more exciting to think, well, that's the reason I'm putting stuff in that category, right?
To buy freedom.
My freedom. So we had that. Definitely. And then we had your home, which you've actually rebranded as a valuable liability.
Okay.
Explain valuable liability, Alan.
So you have this idea of like an asset brings you money and a liability costs you money. Like the car you drive costs you money and devalues, but an accountant would call it an asset, even though it is stripping wealth out of your pocket on a monthly basis. And the bigger one of these assets you buy, the quicker your money disappears. So then we're going, well, it's not really an asset, is it? But it has value. Like you can sell it for some cash. So we called it a valuable liability. And the bigger the valuable liability you buy, the faster the money leaves your world. And in general, the bigger the house you buy, yes, you've got a giant valuable thing, but you have more maintenance, you have more taxes, you have more, all of that stuff. Same with cars. You know, you compare a BMW versus a small, I don't even know what a small car, do you have small cars?
They don't have small cars in America.
We're Americans. We don't do small. Come on. Ford F-150 is small. Let's be honest.
Oh, that's small. So F-150 versus an F-350. The F-350 will strip money out of your pocket faster. So it's like a valuable liability. And what do 99% of the general population spend their money on? Valuable liabilities. They spend it all on the mortgage, the car. They're funneling all of their cash into valuable liabilities. So we did this visualization over the years of where people's money goes. And in the UK, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in America, but you can tell me, is people end up close to retirement, owning their home outright. So they have a huge amount of money stacked in valuable liabilities, but very little in their freedom fund. And they're kind of relying on, in the UK, it's called the state pension.
Social security.
You have social security, but they're relying on that. So that split for most people as they head towards retirement is all valuable liabilities and very little freedom fund. And actually, we have exact opposite. We don't own a single valuable liability. We own nothing with keys, and our entire net worth is in our freedom fund. And we started to think a lot about helping people to shift their split and where their money's going.
The other distinction we wanted to make was between assets or your freedom fund and leaving a bunch of money sat in cash. So that we have as a separate element, because a lot of people that we teach that come on Rebel Finance School say, oh, I thought I was really good with money because I was organized with it. I didn't have any debt or consumer debt. I just kept all my money in cash, though.
I'm a saver.
So by adding that as a separate element as well, we wanted to encourage people to move that bunch of cash over into investments that would actually work for them.
Gotcha. I like that. So, okay, there's a whole lot there. So first, you said you have this visual. is this person by person, or have you aggregated like numbers from a lot of people?
So we use the aggregated data to like present it
Okay.
and show what happened. And we sort of presented that on our website so we could share the visuals with
Nice.
you.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes for sure.
I love that. And then we created a tool that anyone can put in their own numbers, and it creates a tree map visual of their own split. So you could literally just like log in, put in what percentage of your money is in the different category and put the dollar amounts, and it will create a visual split so you can see where your money's going. And that element, I think, shocked people to see what percentage of their money was tied up in their house versus what percentage of money was buying their freedom.
Yeah, and you said log in. There's no login required. You just meant like turn your laptop on, didn't you?
I meant just visit the website.
Okay. That's super interesting. So
Are you doing yours now, Brad? Are you filling out your numbers to look at your
I'm not.
chart?
No, I'm typing down my little notes. I like seriously when you're talking, I'm brainstorming. I'm always typing because I have these ideas and they come and go. So I have to quickly jot down notes or they're all gone. It's like here are the 3 different words I need to remember, but I think I missed one already. So okay, first. Risk versus volatility is an interesting one. So you talked about cash, right? I think a lot of people like misconstrue like what risk is and what volatility is. And this is one of those things like you mentioned that person who's been a diligent saver and they have all their money sitting in their checking account in cash earning nothing, right? And let's say they have 200 grand there. Now they've saved for a long while, $200,000 just sitting there doing nothing, inert, earning 0% interest, right? Well, at the moment, there's no risk as they might look at it. It's safe. But I would argue that that is really significantly risky because basically it's opportunity cost, right? So had they invested that money in low cost index funds or ETFs at an 8% annual return, we would expect that amount to double every 9 years, right? So 18 years from now, that 200,000 sitting in the checking account will still be $200,000, right? If it's earning 0% interest. If it was invested in a market earning 8% annually, it will double every 9 years. So it'll be 400 grand after 9 years and then 800 grand after 18 years. So that's 800,000 versus 200,000. So while along those 18 years, there will be volatility. Obviously, we know the stock market goes up and down and sometimes up and down significantly intra-year or an entire year, but which is truly riskier? I think the answer is obvious when you look at it of, hey, there's no volatility in keeping your checking account, but I would argue that's dramatically riskier.
I think just to strengthen your argument as well, Brad, even if that was in a savings account that was earning a small amount of interest, you're still going to be significantly worse off. Because I think a lot of people would say, well, it's not in my checking account, I'm earning some interest. I just wanted to say your argument still stands if you are earning a small amount of interest.
Well, if you compare that small amount of interest versus inflation, you're actually losing out because very rarely does the interest you earn actually outpace inflation. And then you go, well, I'm leaving my money in savings because I'm scared and I want safety. But you're actually guaranteeing a loss versus inflation. So the thing you're afraid of, losing money, is the thing you guarantee by keeping your money in savings. Yeah. And I just want to help these people see it and help them see they could be so much better off than to get their money invested. But it's fear. And the thing we've learned over the years is what you're afraid of, you end up doing weird stuff to avoid, which actually creates it. You're afraid of.
Right. They're literally leaning into the thing that they are scared of the most. That's crazy. But yeah, I see it over and over again. And just a couple other super quick things. So your home equity, I think this is something a lot of people get bogged down in. And we've seen this in this whole middle class trap argument nonsense is in general terms, your primary residence home equity does not, it counts in your net worth. When you're just collating your entire net worth, it counts, but it's not part of your investable assets towards your FI number. So this is a really important distinction. You might be wealthy and have a couple $1 million in home equity in some weird fringe case where you live in California and you have $3 million in home equity in your home, but only a couple $100,000 in investable assets. The simple fact of the matter is you're not FI. And that's fine. You know, that's okay. But you've made a decision. And that's the other thing is you've made a decision and you keep making a decision every single day to keep living in that house. Now, you could be FI almost anywhere in the world other than in that space, in that house. So we all make decisions and you can make whatever decision you want, but it's important to know that the money that's just sitting there in your home equity, we just don't include it in our FI number.
And that's why we made that visualization to help people to see it. And when you can see that, rather than just numbers and zeros and commas and stuff, to actually see it as the size of it comparatively to the other elements is really powerful. And that's what we found from showing that to people.
Because the extreme example you just said is actually a real example from a friend in the UK. He had a very nice apartment in London that he bought in the 80s. London went up ridiculously. It's worth £3 million, but he hadn't saved or invested anything outside that. So he's worth a fortune, but cannot retire, and he wants to live in that one house. And his entire net worth is tied up in a valuable liability that you can't live off. You can't eat the bricks that you live in. It won't feed you. You need money to buy pizza and other essential items.
I think in that Singapore scenario, we would have been willing to eat the bricks.
I would have eaten anything at that point.
I mean, seriously. Yeah, at that point. Let's be clear here. But yeah, like I said, we'll include that link in the show notes. But lest anyone, I'm sure there'll be people yelling about the valuable liabilities and house versus car. And obviously, cars are depreciating assets. In most cases, homes aren't technically depreciating; they're appreciating by a tiny little bit. But like you both talked about, there are just a ton of expenses that go in annually into your home. And when you do any type of simple scrutiny over how much money you're spending in your home, it's a whole heck of a lot. So I don't think anybody factors that in when they're looking at the return on their primary residence. And I think the other thing is a lot of people who aren't in the FI community aren't saving money. They always look to, oh, but my home is my biggest asset, my biggest source of net worth. And the sad fact is that's true, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It's an artifact of nobody else is saving any money. And therefore, their home is the only shred of wealth that they actually have. And you just do a simple compound interest calculator. I think I went to NerdWallet and just typed in hey, I'm just saving $500 a month at a simple 8% return for 30 years. You're going to have $750,000. In this case, $745,000. That's $500 a month. If you're making $100,000 across two of you and you save $6,000 a year, that's only 6% of your gross income saved. And you're going to have $750,000. That's going to almost certainly outpace home equity for the vast majority of people. And that's not a FI person. That's just a regular person saving 6% of their gross income. So I find it really hard to imagine almost anyone other than these fringe cases, almost anyone in the FI community is going to wake up in 30 or 40 years with their home, the home that they live in, as the biggest source of their net worth. There are fringe cases, of course, but come on, guys. It's so fleetingly rare. It's crazy.
It's fleetingly rare in the FI world. I think it's the norm in the rest of the world,
yes,
which is a really interesting distinction. And then you go, well, we're trying to reach out to people in the rest of the world and help them to come over to our side and get investing and to earn money. And I think to back up your bit about the homes, the reason everyone thinks homes are so good is the back of the envelope maths that everyone does. I bought it for $100,000 20 years ago, and now it's worth $250. Therefore, I've made a $150 profit. And that's literally the back of the envelope maths that people do. That doesn't include your costs of buying, your costs of selling, all of the other costs that you have. But that back of the envelope maths is what makes property have a good name in this world. And you hear people literally saying, I bought the house for this, I bought the house for that. That's what I've got.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But it's too hard. It really is too hard for most people to actually do the calculation, myself included. And yeah, the simple thing is just to look at that. But also, they don't even realize the amount of time. Most people don't understand the length of their lifespan. It's if you bought a house for $50,000 in 1985 and it's 40 years later and it's now worth $400,000, that sounds like an amazing thing. But you would expect that to double if you had that money in the stock market, double minimum 4 times, probably closer to 5, right? So that's 100, 200, 400, 800,000. And realistically, over 40 years, it would probably be closer to that next double, getting you closer to 1.6 million. That vastly outweighs hey, my house went up to 400,000. And that's even just the rudimentary way of looking at it, not counting all these costs. So I think very rarely, this is a very long way of saying your home is something to live in. And that's very important. But let's not misconstrue it with the most valuable asset for people in the FI community. So why don't we shift gears to talking about something that is the most valuable asset for most people in the FI community? And this is our mutual funds and index funds. And there's been a lot of talk recently about people not believing that when the time comes, that those of us in the FI community will be able to sell our shares and live off essentially the 4% rule, which is just, hey, I've put this plan in place for 10, 15, 20 years. I've reached the point where I'm FI. And then that literally selling the shares will be so insurmountable psychologically that they won't be able to do it. And therefore, in essence, the logical conclusion to that is like, FI is junk and this doesn't work. You need some other type of income stream. I've been on record saying I think this is utterly preposterous to the highest level. Have you heard this talk at all? Has this crossed your plate?
I think there's a whole piece of like, all of the bloggers and all of the FI celebrities. I don't know what the right word is.
Alan, is content creators.
Content creators, thank you. All of those people, well, they've proved it doesn't work because they still earn money, which is a really weird logic of because they still earn money, it doesn't work. And one of our favorite examples is Christian Bryce from Millennial Revolution. Okay. And they actually split their portfolio into Portfolio A and Portfolio B. And they retired on $1 million and they kept that $1 million in Portfolio A and go, have we been able to live off that? And then anything extra that they've earned through books and other stuffs, they put in Portfolio B so that they could have the purity of the 4% rule test. And they're still going.
Because of this very debate, right? Like, oh, well, it doesn't work because you've just earned more money afterwards anyway.
Yes.
That's exactly why they did that experiment.
And they update it every year, tell whether it's worked or not, and it has. And it's really interesting. Like, it's this fear and this doubt of does the stuff actually work? But having invested, we started investing in 2015, so it's been about 10 years now. And our net worth has over doubled since we retired 6 years ago. So I know you said like the stock market doubles every 9 years. Like our experience has been it's more like 6. And it's kind of mental seeing it happen. And then you feel a bit more comfortable and a bit more relaxed. And people are like, well, no one ever sells any shares. I sold 10 grand's worth of shares to buy Universal trip tickets to go on roller coasters and to do cool stuff for our wedding anniversary. Like, I sell shares to do cool things. Why would I not? Like, I've spent years building up the portfolio to get to a point where I can spend the money to have an incredible life. That's the whole purpose of this.
And I think even if you didn't need to sell those shares, if you had income that covered your lifestyle from other things, whether that's businesses or whether that's whatever it is that income is coming from, that doesn't mean that the 4% rule doesn't work. It means, like, why are you going to sell your shares if you don't need to? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Right. It's this weird purity test. Like, the only people that are living the FI life are those who are selling explicitly and only 4% of their assets every year and making $0 of income from anywhere else. Like, that's so preposterous. I mean, we're the smartest, most industrious people in the whole world in the FI community. And to imagine that we're not going to make money from something else ever is ridiculous. Or that we're going to have rental real estate or some dividends that happen to come in, whether we're overtly doing that or not, or have some little pension or have some social security. Like, that doesn't render the entirety of FI null and void. But it's so stupid. Like, when you say it out loud, it sounds so ridiculous, obviously, right? But also, and I think this is really important, is selling shares. Okay, you have saved your entire FI journey. I won't say your adult life, because there are many people who get into FI after they've gone through some financial difficulties, right? But on your FI journey, you've been saving money. And now comes the time, whenever that is, and whatever percent of your annual expenses it is you need to cover by selling shares, whether that's 100% of your income that you need to cover each year, or just a portion of it because you have other money coming in, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it still works, but you have to click sell. And listen, I'm not going to lie. I think that will be hard, but I think it will be hard for 5 minutes, okay? Like, I think it legitimately will be hard that one time. The very first time you go to log into your brokerage and instead of buying shares, you're selling shares. I legitimately think it will be psychologically difficult. But we're adults. We do hard things. This is part of being human. What are you going to do? Cry and run away? Like, I'm purposely playing this up, but like, literally, what are you going to do? Cry and run away and say FI doesn't work because you can't type a couple of digits in and press the button that says sell? Like, FI doesn't work. It's null and void because you experienced a little bit of discomfort for 5 minutes? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, honestly, are you kidding me with that line of reasoning? And like, there are legitimate people who have this line of reasoning. And I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I think it's like, if it was said by the Susie Ormans of the world, we'd be calling it absolute clickbait nonsense. And en masse, we'd be yelling at them. This is unbelievably stupid. And I just simply won't stand for it. It is going to be hard, and it'll be hard for 5 minutes, but you're an adult and you can overcome things because you've overcome things your entire life. And then want to know what? You're the type of person then who sells shares. And the next month, you just log in merrily, whistling all the way, and you click sell. And then the next month, it's even easier. And you're just a person who lives off their assets then.
It's interesting to think about the fear that people might have had when they started investing and started buying, right? Like, people are nervous and scared to buy those stocks for the first time, for the first few times maybe. But when you get used to it, they whistle merrily in and buy, right?
Like, even when it's going down, they're like, stocks are on sale, let's buy.
So it's exactly the same. It's just something that you get used to.
I think there are a huge number of people out there who literally organize their lives to avoid ever having to sell anything. So they will over-earn and buy dividend stocks and do all this other stuff just so they can live off the dividends and never have to sell anything. And we actually had an example come in from that, didn't we? Should we read the example?
Yeah, read.
Okay. Hi, Brad. Huge fan of the show. 5 years ago, I had a dream of being able to retire early via dividends covering my life costs. So this person is literally trying to get just the dividend portion of their income to cover their entire life costs. On the show, I've heard you mention dividend investing is sort of a third rail of investing, and I'm not sure if I'm making a mistake with my plan. I'm 44 years old and have a net worth of $5.5 million. My brokerage pays me 105 grand a year in dividends. Last year it was 87, the year before it was 58, and my goal is to get that to about 120, which we are close. I love my job, want to keep working as long as it's still fun. Am I way off, or do you think dividend works if you can live off the cash flow while investing overflow back into VTI or VOO, etc.?
Well,
there's so much there.
So much to unpick.
Yeah, there's so much. I definitely obviously want to hear your opinions on this, but just to be clear, like, getting dividends from your investments is not a bad thing. When you invest in mutual funds and ETFs, you are going to get dividends because some of the companies in those funds just kick off dividends. That's part of their corporate strategy, and they kick off dividends, and that's great. Okay. So I'm not telling them to send them back. I don't want them, just throw my money out, rip up the check, right? Like, those are great. I think where the third rail, the quote unquote third rail investing comes in with like people who are overtly following the dividend investing. And I think of it as capital D, capital I, dividend investing strategy. And like, they're just buying stocks that kick off big dividends. And like, that's their strategy. I think that is a significantly suboptimal investing strategy because basically a dividend is just part of the company. The company is just returning a part of itself to the owners of the company, and you are one of the owners of the company, and they're sending a piece of your company back to you in what is a forced taxable event. So dividends are taxed and you're losing flexibility. I personally don't like to lose flexibility in any aspect of life. So I'm getting this forced taxable event, and basically how I look at it is like, companies can do a lot of things with their excess cash, right? Like, they can give dividends, they can repurchase shares, they can buy new companies, they can pay down debt, they can do a whole bunch of things. And really, dividends, I jokingly call it like meekly capitulating is what they're doing, because they have no better use for the money than just kind of meekly paying it back as a dividend. And I just would rather have companies that aren't at that point in their growth or their lack of growth cycle where they have nothing better to do. They can't invest in new business lines. They can't upgrade their facilities. They're just kind of rolling along. And those can be great companies, let's be clear. But they are just doing their thing. And that's not necessarily the companies that I want with all of my assets. So those are like the people who are dividend investors. And, listen, is dividend investing better than sticking your money in a checking account? Of course it is. Like, we're kind of like splitting hairs here at the end of the day, but I just think it's a suboptimal investing strategy. Now, Sean is talking about something else. Sean is basically, it sounds like he's investing in VTI or VOO, which are the Vanguard Total Stock Market and S&P 500 ETFs with a lot of this, but he's trying to get the dividends from those funds to pay for his life expenses. And while that's not a terrible plan in and of itself, it sounds like he is probably FAT-FI by a significant margin, because I think those funds give off under a 2% dividend or thereabouts.
I'm just looking up now, 1.2%.
1.2. Oh, goodness. So if Sean gets to the point where he's living off the dividends, he's basically doing a 1.2% withdrawal, which means by a factor of 3, he basically overworked. He's FAT-FI many times over. And that just seems kind of crazy to me. And it also suggests that I think people misconstrue dividends as some kind of magical income when it's really not. It's only dividend income because we call it dividend income for tax return purposes. It's like the company's just giving you some of the cash back that they have sitting in their bank account. Like, it's not magical income. It didn't, like, of course, it ultimately came from income within the company, but it's just money sitting in their bank account. And they said, like, hey, owner, take $1 of it. Like, that's what they did. Each owner gets whatever cents or dollars per share that they gave back. Like, there's nothing magical going on here. So I think Sean is kind of conflating some things.
We had a little look at the numbers and it was like, well, the aim was to live off 120 grand a year and you've got $5.5 million net worth. And when we read net worth, we were like, well, okay, that total net worth probably includes his home, maybe didn't, but let's just imagine it did. And he's only got 4 million invested. At 4%, that still gives you 200 grand a year to live off. So he's like way past his number. And that's partly like sometimes, and I don't know whether this case with Sean, but I'm going to like generalize for everyone to listen to, is that I don't want to sell stocks off. So I'll just live off the dividends. Then you have to go way past your number because they don't pay that many dividends. And you end up working years longer than you needed to, which Sean said he loved his job, wants to keep working. That's cool. But as a suboptimal strategy, like, you were done probably 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, if you think that his aim is 120 grand times 25, that's 3 million.
Yeah, so
and he's got 5.5.
Nearly double.
Even if his home was worth 2.5 million, then he's there.
Yeah, he's still fine, which is great. Which is great news for Sean, right? That's absolutely wonderful. And it's interesting that I love my job and want to keep working as long as it's still fun. Sean, that's fantastic, right? And I would argue to anybody out there, that's fantastic. But it's kind of this like misdirection. It's like a red herring kind of argument of it doesn't matter. Like, you can stay in your job as long as you want to. That's great. But like, that's not relevant to, I'm pushing back my FI date because I happen to love my job. Like, if you love your job, stay in your job, whether you're FI or not, but don't arbitrarily say, I'm not FI yet, and misconstrue the math based on some conflating, like, but I love my job. Like, if you love your job, stay in your job for the rest of your life. That's great. But I think we also need to understand, like, with time and resource freedom, we have every option in the world, literally. So this is another opportunity cost argument, right? Is like Sean is saying, like, yeah, I love my job, but my counter argument would be, Sean, you have enough money to do whatever time and money to do whatever you want in the entire world. So in the range of literally billions of options is the number one on that list. When you rank order the billions of options of things you can do with your time and money, working at the exact job you're in the exact capacity for the exact number of hours with the exact people. Like, if that happens to come up number one, oh goodness, you should play the Powerball every single day of your life. Like, you are just, it's amazing. You've killed it. Like, I'm a little snarky today, guys, if you couldn't tell, but very good natured.
Today,
I
Brad.
love it.
You're really leaning into this.
Bring
I
it.
love it.
In a very good natured manner. I hope everybody can read that. But yeah, I'm a little on today. But it's impossible. And I hear this all the time, but I love my job, Like, that's freaking great. Stay in your job. Okay. But if you're actually honest with yourself, you have all the options in the entire world. The chance that you would pick your exact job is approaching zero. Now, what that could mean is, hey, I do love aspects of my job. I want to stay in those aspects. Like, that's a different story altogether, right? Like, for a certain percentage of it, or for a certain number of weeks or months a year. Like, again, totally different. If by some chance that is in those billions of options, that is at the very top rank ordered. But I still find that relatively hard to believe. But if that's you, then that's great. Like, what do they say? Tap dance all the way to work, right? Like a Warren Buffett style. So do your thing. But what do you guys think about this?
I think there's so many options in the world, and I think I'm not going to speak specifically about Sean, but for the whole.
And I'm not picking on Sean. Let's be clear. No. Sorry, Sean.
Sean, like,
we'll give him a hug.
Brave and written in. And
no, then... Sean's wonderful. Thank you for writing, Sean. And let's be clear, Sean is killing it. Sean is fat fi, rocking and rolling, loves his job. This is great. I mean, Sean has a wonderful life, it sounds like.
And he's a huge fan of your show, Brad. So
which is amazing. Thank you, Sean.
Great taste as well.
Yeah. Hey, I like it.
I've completely forgotten what I was going to say.
I'll say something whilst you do that, which is to broaden the point. So we're not necessarily talking about Sean here, but for people that say, well, I love my job, and often they might use that as a reason not to sort their finances out, or as a reason to kind of stay in their job, or the one more year syndrome. I think often there's the whole psychology in there of maybe fear of the unknown, or kind of a bit of avoidance of thinking about how you want your life to be. And it's like, well, this is quite good, so I'll just keep this.
It's the avoidance of thinking. It's easier to stay in a job that you love than it is to think, oh, what about that dream I had as a kid? Or could I do this? Or what else could I do? It is easier to keep status quo than it is to think. And I think a huge number of us are anti-thinking and then anti the action that comes afterwards. And that might be because, like, thinking takes up lots of calories, so let's not do it. Let's just sit on the couch.
We're going like evolutionary type reasons as to why we don't like to think as humans.
But we generally don't.
No.
But it's actually a really tough thing to think, what would I do with my life if I wasn't working? And that's why people put it off till after they finish working, and then they have to crash. But I'd say to everyone that thinking is critical no matter what stage you're at. Even if you've just started your job, start to think even more, like, is there a better version? What could I do? How could I get promoted? Where else could I go? That's the thinking that leads you to where you want to go to.
And we know that that's difficult, and we've got a little PDF guide that we can put in the show notes that helps people think through.
Which is the one Brad did in Bali at the event.
Oh, yeah.
All the questions for the different life areas to think through, like, where would you live if you had to? What job would you have if you had to? Career and mission, and all of the different questions. Do you remember that workshop?
Of course I remember it. Yeah. In fact, I was just chatting with Aaron about this recently, where we were talking about, like, it was just such a wonderful 2-part section of the entire retreat, where you laid these parts out, and then we had dedicated time to spend thinking and writing about them. And it was focusing on the ones that impacted us the most. That was a highlight of the retreat.
So for everyone listening to this, we'll put it in the show notes. You can download the guide. It is a set of prompts to help your brain think about the next version of each area of your life. Because it's very difficult to answer the question, what do you want? Like, if you stare at someone and go, tell me what you want, like, they'll literally freeze. Their brain will go, I can't cope with that question, and it will stop. Whereas if you break it down into areas and you go, okay, what do I want my life to be like in health and wellness? Like, you start to ask the questions, what does a healthy lifestyle look like for me? How do I want to feel in my body when I wake up? How do you take care of your body and mind? What are your fitness goals? How do you manage stress? And there's a bunch of questions and prompts to help you think about how you actually want life to be like. And it's really interesting when you start to do that exercise, you start to have a little bit of a wake-up call and go, oh, maybe I'm not at the optimal place I want to be at in all of these areas. And that's what will happen when you start to think about them.
Yeah, and I think that's another cool aspect of FI is that this is so not just about money. It's almost silly to think that FI is just. I couldn't have done 700 plus episodes if it was just about the nuts and bolts of money. That's a tiny fraction of this, right? It's just you get your money straight so that you can live a better life. And there are fleetingly few people who have nailed all 8 aspects of the life as you've delineated it. And that's okay. We're all works in progress, right? Like we're all just trying to figure it out, and nobody has it all figured out. Nobody does. And even if you did on some level, like the world keeps moving, your life keeps moving and changing. Like it's constantly changing. You have to update your thinking. And all 3 of us see this constantly in our own lives. Like again, going back to 2020 to 2022, you probably had grand ideas of what your life was going to look like for the next couple of years in terms of travel and how you spend time and who you spend time with. And like, undoubtedly that has changed dramatically. And that's okay. That's not a failure. It's not 2021 Alan and Katie are failures. It's you've learned things along the way. You've updated your thinking and you're going to move along accordingly. And that's what it means to be human.
And actually really cool stuff comes out of it going a way you didn't expect. We wouldn't have developed Rebel Finance School if we hadn't have been locked down in the UK
with nothing to
do. We would have been doing very different stuff. And that's one of the things that we're most proud of that we've done ever. Well, I'll speak for myself. That's one of the things I'm most proud of.
And I am too. Quick fire one off the list, Brad, because I thought it would be quite interesting. People misconstrued your comments about Tesla as political. I'm interested to know, like, was it political? Was it not?
No. Yeah, this is funny. I'm glad. This was one I put on the list that I wasn't sure we were going to talk about actually. But yeah, it's funny how I think this is what happened is on the JL Collins episode, I might have called Tesla a meme stock. And this naturally enraged a bunch of people who are Tesla diehards. But it's hilarious because I think people looked at that as political. And anybody who's been listening to this podcast for the entirety of it knows I'm not a huge Elon Musk fan. This goes back to 2017. And while I think what Tesla has done to a large degree is very positive, I think the valuation of it is absolutely insane and not tethered to any type of reality. And I think almost by any definition, it's a meme stock. And just almost by its definition, in that like this is a declining car company that's declining year over year. And they're basically basing a couple $1 trillion in value on things that are total vaporware, essentially. This, robots and the and this robotaxi, when Waymo is actually already producing a autonomous vehicle and has been for years now, and Tesla is in this tiny little geofenced area in Austin. And when they did their robots, like at one of their most recent events, they literally had someone behind the stage, like orchestrating the robot. It wasn't even an autonomous thing. It was like by anybody else, it would be fraud. But because it's Tesla and Elon Musk, it's like, it's okay. So anyway, I just, I think anybody who looks at valuation aside from these Tesla diehards, so essentially the only people who could say like, oh, Tesla's worth its valuation are the people who have made a lot of money from Tesla. So you're almost proving yourself that way. And I guess just the political aspect is like, if people thought I was like yelling at, oh, Elon's a bad person because he's friends with Trump. Well, do those people now agree with me? Because now the first buddy is like the first enemy. So it's kind of, it's just hilarious on its very face. Like, are those people now cheering me on because they misconstrued that I was saying it as a political matter? I wasn't saying it as a political matter. I think, yeah, he's a charlatan to a large degree. And that's fine. He has produced great things, but he's also produced a lot of promises that are not even close and some things bordering on fraud. So, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. But yeah, it wasn't political in any sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. And when you get into like the whole stock picking thing, that's when Katie and I go, we don't really care about which stocks do well because we just own the index fund and we forget about all of it, which is the simplest way to do it. Then you don't even have to think about which company is valued, which price. There's many other exciting things to think about.
Right. What do you like to think about, Alan?
Let's not go there on live show.
Oh, you too. So yeah, let's. Anywho, it will be the transition. So yeah, I know I have a hot take on that, but yeah, if this is a car company, it's overvalued by 90% and the stock should be cut 90%. If it's based on fictional things that might be in the future, well, when those fictional things do or don't come to pass, then great. And then it's worth something. So, we'll kind of see from there. All right. I think we should move on from that one.
Yes, let's move on from that one. Katie.
Why do you dislike the Robinhood app, Brad?
You're just trying to incite me today, aren't you?
I can see you're on a roll.
Yeah.
Shall I give that a bit more context?
Sure.
So this is a message from Kyle. He says, I consider myself a new FI motivated individual. I've been investing extra income into a taxable account after building my emergency fund, reducing debt, and contributing to tax advantaged accounts.
Good work, Kyle.
Well done, Kyle. Can someone explain the level of disdain Brad has?
Wow.
We'll come back to that, Brad, if there is a level of disdain. Is it simply because it encourages a gamble style of investing, or is there a larger problem with the platform? I was attracted to it a few years ago when I first started this journey because of its user-friendly interface. I use it to purchase mostly broad market ETFs and a couple REITs to have some skin in the real estate market. Have I started the taxable brokerage portion of my FI journey on the wrong foot?
What a great question. And I love Kyle's a great writer, by the way. The level of disdain Brad has for Robinhood. That's great. Well, first off, Kyle, you're crushing it. You're absolutely doing great. So there's no worries. Take a deep breath. You are doing wonderfully, my friend. So do not worry. You're not on the wrong foot. Everything's fine. Sounds like you're investing in a very intelligent manner, as would befit a listener of ChooseFI. So I have no issues there. Yeah, I mean, as you said, very simply, it is because it encouraged a gambling style of investing. And I don't think there's anything more there. I think over the years, there have been some allegations of some other minor issues with Robinhood. I don't really believe any of those. They're a publicly traded company at this point. They're doing exceedingly well. I don't have any issues with Robinhood other than that it seems like the app has always been geared. And in fairness, I haven't logged into the thing in a couple of years, so it may have changed. I don't think it has, but it has always been geared towards basically addicting people to gambling. And there are a lot of apps that addict people, especially a lot of young men, to gambling and just actual gambling. And I think treating investing as gambling is what a lot of people erroneously do. And the three of us know investing is a long-term pursuit. This is for the three of us, it's a 50 plus year pursuit. For many people, maybe Kyle's just starting out, it's a 60, 70 year pursuit. It's not about, hey, Robinhood showed me this confetti and green today because it went up, or red because it went down, and it's yelling at me. And I'm kind of making that up, but not all that much. And they just facilitate a gambling style. And listen, they're a company. It's served them well. Their stock is flying high. I don't normally take that approach, but they can do what they want. I don't have I don't think they're bad people necessarily, but I just think it leads to some problematic behavior potentially. And if all things equal, would I rather someone invest at Vanguard, Schwab, or Fidelity? Yeah, you bet I would. But is Kyle on the wrong foot by investing in low-cost index funds and ETFs at Robinhood? No, I don't think so. What do you guys say? Have people asked you about Robinhood?
It's come up, and there's plenty of other platforms that are exactly the same. And I just like looking at the homepage of Robinhood, the opening banner is built for the future of trading. Analyze, buy, and sell with tools purpose-built for how you trade. And then they show candlestick indicators and graphs and all of the other stuff that we know is about trading. So the whole platform is built around the idea of trading. You can use that tool to buy index funds, and you can absolutely do that. And there's no cost to doing that. But we generally have a problem with platforms that sell you on those stocks because we see people get bought into it. It's like, oh, they flagged up this stock, maybe will do well. And it's showing well on the candlestick indicator and the confidence this and the, opaque darkness of future possibilities level indicator, it'll do well. And we kind of have a problem with them selling that because we know people get bought into it. Then they come back to us and say, should we do this? To which we then go, no, don't do that. Just stick with a simple index fund. But you can use that platform to get an index fund. Same with all the ones in the UK.
Yeah, it's just whether you kind of trust yourself to not be sucked into the stuff, the trading side of it, which our philosophy is don't go anywhere near that. And I think it's slightly different in the US because you don't tend to have any fees to use the platform or the provider, whereas most other countries that we've come across do. That you do in the UK. There are a few free ones now, but most platforms have a fee. So a lot of people get sucked in by the fancy marketing of those platforms, and then they'll have a high fee to use the platform. So what we always come back to are what are the fees and what are the funds you can invest in and what are the fees on those funds. So when I say fees, the platform fees and then the fund fees, and just minimize those. And if you can ignore all the other stuff around it, then go for it. But if you're ignoring all the other stuff around it, why are you going for that slick app anyway?
Right. That's a really great point. Yeah, anytime I hear the word trading, it just kind of gets my spidey sense up. It's we in the FI community are not looking to trade. We're looking to invest over decades. So yeah, if a platform is saying trading is what sets them apart, and a lot of this gamification and gambling style behavior, I think you probably should look elsewhere. There are plenty of other platforms, but yeah, are you going to go wrong at Robinhood? I really don't think so, as long as you're diligent about not getting sucked into that. So yeah, thanks for the question, Kyle.
Oh, it'd be really cool to gamify it to incentivize you to do the things that we think would be the right behavior, supposedly, of like, okay, run streak, you have been invested for this long and you haven't sold.
You haven't done anything.
You're on your way to FI and you've just left it be. Run streak, 371 days. And then you look back, it'll be quite boring though.
It would be amazing. 371 days of doing nothing. Celebrate and go back to doing nothing.
That would be cool. Sit on your hands and do nothing. That really, incredibly, that is the investing strategy that works the best. It's kind of wild. All right. Well, as always with our fun conversations, we could literally do this for 3 hours, but for the sake of Andrew, our editor, we'll wrap it up here, and maybe we'll do another one real soon, because this is a blast. Let's finish off with something fun. So every so often in my newsletter, I put a section I call what I'm reading, watching, and playing. And I'm curious to you two, does anything jump out? Like, what are you, and I know you are traveling, you're in Brazil, you're always up to different projects and things. So maybe that even gets included in some of these, but like anything jump out for reading, watching, playing, anything that has been interesting you guys recently?
We saw the latest Superman movie and it was excellent. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, James Gunn's Superman was fantastic. We've been enjoying going to the cinema. There's like the big IMAX, the big experience, the big screen, the sound. We've absolutely loved going to the cinema.
We just make sure that the subtitles, rather than it being dubbed.
Oh, yeah.
We don't understand Portuguese.
Yeah, this is not a problem anyone in America will have, I assume.
That's cool. Okay, so that's watching. I guess for me, I've been watching recently. My favorite show, my favorite TV show of all time is The West Wing. And it's incredible. It came out in, I think the first season was 1999. So it's more than a quarter century at this point. But it still holds up. I've gone back to the beginning, watching the first season, and I think I'm 8 or 9 episodes in, and it's just wonderful. It's I'm so sappy when it comes to stuff like this. Like I swear I cry more at The West Wing than virtually anything else on earth. And like I just find it so beautiful, and like how the world can be, how government can be, how effective we can be when we come together. I really like that show. So yeah, I picked that up very recently.
I would add one more that we absolutely binge watched, which was called Paradise. It's on the Disney Plus Star service, and I won't give it all away, but it's like a protection agent for the president. And the story was just gripping. And then I think it was the penultimate episode was one of the most emotional, harrowing episodes we'd ever seen. It was fantastic.
Did I cry?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Paradise
that's
is
well worth watching.
Paradise, yeah,
Huge
excellent.
twist, really good.
Okay. What streaming or where can you find that?
We watch it on Disney Plus, but it might be different.
I think it's called Star, or like a Disney Plus aside one.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we'll check that out. And yeah, I have it on, well, I'm not sure what it's called at the moment. HBO Max or whatever is where The West Wing streams in the US.
It might be Hulu.
Hulu.
Okay, cool. Well, check it out. Obviously, it is different everywhere. You guys are in Brazil right now, and so we'll figure it out. Anything else? Have you guys played any games, done anything fun like that?
We're in the phase of running Rebel Finance School. So we're running Rebel Finance School right now, which has turned into a huge project because we did opening episodes. and we did bonus episodes. So it's actually turned into 3 months of every Monday and every Thursday running live streams. We've got 23,000 people from 48 countries on the course, and we wake up thinking about how to serve them and how to help them.
Yeah.
And we get annoyed when we get tired because we can't keep going, which is how that's the sign of you are living life on purpose, is you're annoyed that you're tired and you just want to do more fun stuff. That has been
Is that a long way of
all-consuming.
saying that we've not done much else?
We run on the beach, we go swimming, we work on helping people with their finances, and I will be excited to have a break afterwards.
Oh, I believe
because my birthday is coming up, and we are going to be in LA for my birthday, living in Venice Beach for a little while. So I think we're going to go to the Avengers campus at Disneyland for my birthday.
Ooh, baby. Oh, that's cool. That sounds like fun. Want to come? Is that what you say? I might want to come. I've never been to LA. So hey, you never know.
Never been to LA.
You both are. I guess. Nope, never been.
You can parade that wonderful 6-pack up and down the beach.
You can get day passes to the Muscle Beach gym at Venice Beach. We looked it up yesterday. So we're thinking of getting like weekly or monthly passes to the Muscle Beach gym and going and working out on the beach in Venice Beach.
Oh, that would be fun. I'll do that with you for sure. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Okay. So to be continued on that. That sounds like fun. So, okay. I'll wrap it up with just what I've been playing recently is, so the New York Times has an app for their New York Times games. And I've been doing, I love the game Connections. And it's basically this like 4x4 grid of usually single words. So it's 16 words, and you essentially have to group them into 4 different groups. So there's some connection. There's a tie that binds. It's a logic puzzle in essence, but it's really fun and it's surprisingly difficult. So yeah, it's just a fun game. So I branched out now a little bit. Every morning I open my New York Times app. I do that. I got back into Wordle after like many years. I just started doing that recently. And they have a little mini crossword puzzle. And it's just like essentially how fast can you finish it? So it's usually a 2 or 3 minute exercise. And yeah, even every so often I do Sudoku. Lots of logic puzzles for me. So been doing that.
Can you do cryptic crosswords, or are you doing the non-cryptic version?
Ooh, I'm doing just the regular. This is just like a regular crossword, but they call it the mini. So it's usually somewhere in the order of like 10 different clues. So it's really, really quick. So yeah, just kind of a fun thing. I think then this is just the free version. If you subscribed, you can get a bunch more. But yeah, that's my little fun every morning. And I started playing a new board game with my daughters I think it's called Skull King. And it's a card game. It's a trick-taking game that is really fun. It only takes maybe 20, 30 minutes. It's similar to a lot, if you're familiar with trick-taking games like spades or hearts or euchre, something like that, you'll understand the basic mechanics. And it's like 10 rounds. So you each have 1 card the first round, then 2 cards the second round, 3 cards the third. And you have to basically bet how many tricks you think you're going to win. So it increases in complexity as you go through the game, because then more cards are out. So it changes. And then you're always playing off the other people. And then I guess in this game, the Skull King, there are something like a handful of additional cards that are just like these extra bonus cards that add, again, a further little wrinkle or complexity. So it's one of the most fun new games that I played in a long while. And I think it's cheap. It's like one of those Grandpa Beck games. They have another game that I like called Cover Your Assets, which is a fun one. It's a little money related, but not so much, but another fun, like 10 or 15 minute game for people to check out. But yeah, I like it. I feel like it's maybe $15 to buy this game thereabouts. And yeah, I would suggest it. So that is what I've been up to, my friends.
That sounds fun. It's a beautiful way to start the day, and we love a good game. Bring the card game next time we hang out.
Sounds good. We will enjoy that. It really is fun. It's a good one. So all right, to everyone, thanks for being part of this conversation. This really is something that maybe it's a little more formal than Alan, Katie, and I usually do, but it's not all that dissimilar to some of the things. And yeah, I guess I got a little riled up in there, but all in good fun. And my friends, thank you for being here as always. So you're doing Rebel Finance School right now. I'm assuming by the time this goes live, that'll either be over, just about over. But if people want to find you, where's your main website? Where can they find Rebel Finance School, either to watch replays or sign up for next year?
Yeah, well, Rebel Finance School is going to be going until mid to late August. So come along and join in on the fun. And we leave the videos up for a good few months afterwards. So if it's not up, then you can just sign up for next year.
And the best place to find about us and what we're up to is rebeldonegans.com. That's where you can find us. That's where all our stuff is, all our latest thinking, articles and blog stuff. Or obviously, we just love coming back on Brad's podcast, and we're the biggest fans of ChooseFI ever.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, we're going to do a lot more of these. This is a lot of fun. So hopefully every couple months we'll jump on and just do a fun little episode. So this is great. Thank you as always for being here. And to everybody who's listening, like we talked about, a lot of this comes down to just thinking clearly, just updating your thinking, looking at the world as it is, not how somebody told you it was or how you want it to be. And things change. And that's a beautiful part about being human. I think that to me was the through line of the episode. And I thought this is fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, thanks for listening to ChooseFI.